Yo, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. And we are taking a look today at the Calgary Flames heading into the trade deadline here for 2021. There have been a lot of inside sources mentioning that the Calgary Flames are looking to add a first-line right winger. And we're going to take a look at some options that may be available before this year's trade deadline for the Flames. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and want to see the latest news around the NHL, you guys know what to do. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. And let's talk about the Calgary Flames. So, the Calgary Flames. We've heard about this for the last month and a half, that the Calgary Flames would like to add another key forward to their group. And there are a lot of names out there that could draw interest for the Flames. So we're going to go through the teams, and you guys are going to agree or disagree with me, whatever. We're going to go through those now. So we're going to start off in Anaheim. Dan Heinen has been thrown out there. This is a guy that's not really going to fit well on your first line, especially for the scoring side of things for Calgary. But if this is a guy that's available for the right price, maybe the Calgary Flames consider it. Now again, he's in the U.S., so now you've got to worry about 2-week quarantine, and that's something that you have to remember here for Calgary as well. It's going to make things a lot more difficult for them to get a deal done. If they want a guy done by the trade deadline, they're going to have to make moves a lot sooner. So I think Dan Heinen would be an interesting add for Calgary. Definitely a good penalty killer, which they could probably use, but I think that's something that could generate interest. And he's been talked about before with Jake Virtanen. So maybe we see, would we see a potential, what's his name? Sam Bennett for Danton Heinen? Could we see some kind of deal work there? I'm not really sure. I think the salary for Sam Bennett is just too much for Anaheim. But there is a possibility we see some form of that potentially happening. Moving on to Columbus, as we've got Riley Nash. Kind of the same thing as Danton Heinen. He's on the cheaper side. He's not going to give you a plethora of scoring, but he can score goals. And I think Calgary, again, on the cheap, could potentially very much get some interest for a guy like Riley Nash. Moving on to LA, Andreas Athanasiou. He has struggled a little bit with the LA Kings this year. I was hoping for a little bit more from him in LA. But this is a guy that's, again, cheaper, and he's going to be a guy that has more upside than maybe a Danton Heinen or Riley Nash. So I think the interest could absolutely be there for Athanasiou. And he's one of the younger guys coming out at a lower cap hit as well. Just another reason why Calgary should show some interest. Moving on now to some of the bigger names. We're heading out to New Jersey as the Devils probably going to sell at this year's trade deadline, let's be honest. And we're going to see them potentially sell some of their wingers. And there are two in particular that are available that may, make the Calgary Flames think about making a move. And those guys are Kyle Palmieri and Nikita Gusev. They are on the final year of their deals becoming pending unrestricted free agents. And I think they are both reliable, scoring top 6 forwards. And I think they could generate some real interest from Calgary. Again, they're going to be cheaper than some of these, the big boys that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But because they're rentals, it may be a better option. They've got some veteran, leadership. Specifically Kyle Palmieri. He's gone on some runs with the Ducks. He's gone on some runs with the Devils. So he has some NHL experience, and I think he would generate a lot of interest from the league in terms of his scoring ability in the past. He struggled this year, so maybe he's not best suited for a move. Maybe he needs the move. But his point production, he may not garner as much as he would maybe last year or even 2 years ago. But Kyle Palmieri, as well as Nikita Gusev, could get some interest from the Flames. And now we're moving on to the Nashville Predators, who have another 2 guys available that I think are going to generate interest. Victor Arvidsson and Mikhail Grandland. Mikhail Grandland is an unrestricted free agent. Victor Arvidsson still has 4 years left on his contract. So Victor Arvidsson has a good contract. It's a long-term deal. So if Calgary wants a little bit more stability, Victor Arvidsson may be the right option for Calgary. If they want just seeking relief for the rest of the season, maybe a guy like Mikhail Grandland may come in a little bit cheaper. But again, a lot of teams around the league have shown interest in Grandland as well, so he may not go off the board too quickly. Okay, so now we're down to 2 teams that I think these are more long shots, but they have the potential. If you're looking for a bona fide first line, right wing forward. These are the two names that I think Calgary should most likely consider. And we're heading to Buffalo for the first one. And we've heard, I made this, I was going through Cap Friendly, I was looking at who would be a good fit from the Buffalo Sabres to maybe go to Calgary. And Sam Reinhart came off the board for me easily. He's he's becoming a restricted free agent again. He signed a 1-year deal last summer with Buffalo, and I think he's done with Buffalo. Obviously, Buffalo is losing again this year. Is Sam Reinhart going to even want to put pen to paper with Buffalo? So maybe Buffalo decides, hey, you know what? Things haven't worked out here between you and I, and it's not you, it's me, and maybe it's time that we just go our separate ways. And Calgary would have to give up a decent amount of assets for Sam Reinhart. He's still a good player, one of the better players in Buffalo, if that means anything. But still, I think that's a guy that could generate interest. I also threw in Eric Staal as another name from Buffalo that could, maybe be of interest. Again, he's got another year left on his contract. He signed a 2-year deal. I guess the situation is, do they really want to trade more assets? And Sam Reinhart is going to cost a lot more than maybe an Eric Staal or a Mikhail Grandland or an Athanasiou, but he's going to provide a lot more instantly for the Flames, and that's kind of the guy that they need. I think Sam Reinhart would be a great addition. And now the last guy, and this one, some of you may be saying, there's no way they're going to trade him, you're crazy, but hear me out. So we're heading to the New York Rangers, and I am looking specifically at Pavel Buchnevich. Now, kind of like Sam Reinhart, he is a restricted free agent this offseason, which means teams like Buffalo and the Rangers can maybe garner more value because they're saying, hey, listen, he's not a UFA, he's not a regular rental. You're going to have his property despite not having him to a contract, so hey, you're going to have to throw in another second or third round pick in there. And I think we could see something like that happen here. Pavel Buchnevich is having a very good season for the New York Rangers. Top 5 on the team in points. But the problem is the Panarin effect is starting to take over in New York. Let's remember the Rangers just signed Panarin to a $10 or $11 million contract. That's expensive. And right now it's kind of biting them back in the butt right now. They have spent a lot of money on Panarin. And we're starting to see that, maybe it's going to affect their ability to keep Buchnevich around. I mean, listen, they want to keep Kakko and Lafreniere around. So if they want to keep those guys around long term, you're going to see a guy like Pavel Buchnevich kind of fall to the wayside. And that's just the unfortunate side of hockey. We've seen a couple of really good guys come up, though, for the Rangers. Like I mentioned, Kaapo Kakko's coming up. Alexis Lafreniere, Vitaly Kravtsov. So it's not a super big loss for the Rangers. Artemi Panarin, he is not the biggest loss. It's going to be disappointing, obviously, because he's been a good New York Ranger since they've had him. But it's just not meant to be. I think we're going to see Buchnevich get traded, unless the Rangers feel they could go on a run here in the second half, which I think as the days go by, it seems like it's not going to happen for the Rangers. But I think Pavel Buchnevich would definitely be a good asset if they want to trade him. He is going to command a decent amount of value. He's playing very well for the Rangers right now. So that is it for my video on the Calgary Flames seeking right wingers. Out of all these guys, who do I think is the best fit? And I really have to admit, I like Pavel Buchnevich. I think Buchnevich is the guy, if the Rangers are willing to trade him, and it's not for an absurd price, I think Pavel Buchnevich is the guy that they should go after. Sam Reinhart, a very close second, because I think Sam Reinhart kind of is the same player as Buchnevich, just in a different environment. That's the only problem. Anything that's coming out of Buffalo, I get a little bit worried out because I just don't know you don't know what you're getting. You could get an even better player or a guy that brings that same kind of weak energy. And I'm not saying Sam Reinhart has that, but it's a theme that we've seen from Buffalo, and it's come in waves over the last decade. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here with the Calgary Flames. Like I said, Buchnevich or Reinhart are the guys I would look at if I'm Calgary. But what do you guys think? Who do you think would be a good fit for the Calgary Flames? Sam Reinhart, Buchnevich, Riley Nash, Dan Heinen? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you guys like what we're doing here at Grandland Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Help us hit 1K subscribers. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and let's go Flames.